I did not eat well at all today. But, like, not terrible. I ate a lot of junk food, but I didn't really go over my calories, so that's good. I'm going to bed hungry tonight, which is not ideal. I probably didn't drink enough water today. I got to hear from a very close friend of mine, Tom, who talked about his weight loss journey, and just a reminder to me to be careful about how quickly I lose weight, even though that's totally not what I'm trying to do with this. That's just a happy byproduct of what I'm trying to do. I remember when I first was going to start this and I talked to him about how many calories I was going to have, he was one of the first people that told me, that's way too many. Like, that's twice what you probably need, or something along those lines. He definitely told me it was too much. And here I am losing weight, eating around that number of calories, so it's interesting how things turn out sometimes. I really did appreciate hearing from him, though. So I'm out with Luna. She needed to use the washroom. And, like maybe a couple of hours ago, I realized that it's Thursday. I thought it was Wednesday, so you can tell how off I am today. Oh, the video is getting all wonky, of course, because of the overcast sky. And hey, look at this. I don't know. Anyways, I haven't been eating all that great this week. Today I'm doing alright with calories. I still have like 1,700 calories for dinner and like an evening snack, which should be plenty. One of the hard things has been that my wife decided for lunch she wasn't going to eat fast food, which pretty much means I'm not eating fast food. Like, once a week at least we would have fast food for dinner, and we can't really do that right now, so we always have to cook, and I'm pretty much the main cook, so I'm always responsible for figuring out what's for, lunch and for dinner. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to eat tonight, and I really don't like that, and I might have to go to the grocery store. I really don't want to. So, this is the week I'm having.
All right. So how have you been doing as far as banking calories?
Doing all right. Averaging between 2 and 500 banked calories a day. That doesn't mean that there aren't days where it's like 14 banked calories or whatever. I haven't gone over lately other than those two events a while back around my mom's birthday. So that's been really good. I think I'm around like 48,000 banked calories at this point. So that's about the equivalent of about 20-ish days of calories. So, I mean, it's funny, when we first started working on this whole thing, Annie, who's behind the camera, was very concerned that by December I would have no calories left. And I had, in my mind, thought, oh, well, what I'll do is I'll, like, have, one low-calorie day a week of, like, 500 calories and be able to bank, like, 2,000 calories, which will be able to get me, like, a nice reserve around Christmas time. And it doesn't seem like I really need that, since I almost have I have 2/3 of a month of banked calories and we're only 3 months in.
It's really good. This month you mentioned to me a few times that you were actually feeling full. Can you talk a bit about this?
As far back as I can remember, like even as a kid, a teenager and whatnot, I'm like, other than like really eating a ton of stuff till like I'm absolutely bursting at the seams, that like full signal that people get, that feeling of I'm going to mess up the word, satiation, is not something that I've commonly experienced. So over the last, month or so, it's been one of those things where if I eat a reasonable sized meal, I actually feel full for a little while, which is completely unique because for me, I've never had that experience as far back as I can remember. Almost every meal that I've eaten up till kind of this point has been, barely making me full. The idea of one more plate or having dessert was pretty common.
Have you noticed any physical changes this month?
It's hard because this is my body day by day, right? So it can be really difficult to kind of keep track of those kinds of things. Pants continue to kind of get looser, belts need additional loops. A belt that my mom bought me for like Christmas or whatever that was too small is now at a wearable size, so that's kind of interesting. I've been tracking my weight for a very long time, and I'm about 4 pounds away from the lightest I've been in a decade. So, I mean, as much as I don't feel the physical changes, I can tell that they're happening.
What has been the biggest hurdle you've overcome recently?
I mean, for Lent, I gave up all fizzy, bubbly pops. Dog ownership.
Yeah.
Dog ownership is another one. Oh my goodness. Owning a puppy is definitely more work than you'd expect. But yeah, I mean, my main source of caffeine has been like Coca-Cola and Barq's root beer, and to not have access to that has definitely been difficult sometimes, especially on nights where we don't get as much sleep due to the puppy. So.
Can you talk a bit about the way seeing certain foods primes people to make certain food choices, and also about the fallacy of portion sizes?
So, I mean, you know more about this than I do. You're in psychology and learning about these kinds of things, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, you think about the way that a grocery store is laid out. They definitely make sure to put foods in certain areas so that you buy them, or that you leave with more than you probably wanted to go in with. I mean, who hasn't gone into like Costco and come out with more than $100 worth of stuff when you thought you were just going to get a thing of toilet paper? So they definitely are smart in how they position things to make sure that you buy the maximum number of items, especially things like sweet and salty food. I mean, it's my kryptonite, man. You put a bunch of sweets near the exit, and I'm like, oh, I really would like that chocolate bar. I really would. And if I get that chocolate bar, well, I should get something healthy to counteract it, right? Or, I think it's funny how we discussed earlier this month that when I open the fridge and see a bunch of health foods in there, I feel more justified in taking the chocolate milk or eating a bunch of things that I know I shouldn't be eating, because I have the healthy food, and that means therefore I am more healthy, right? I mean, can you imagine if that's how it actually worked? It doesn't. It really doesn't. But your brain goes, well, I have all this healthy food, I'm going to eat it at some point, and therefore I can eat this junk now. No. It's stupid. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the prepackaged sizes, right? I like spicy nacho Doritos. They do not come in the small bags. But here I am buying kind of this big bag of chips, and it's very easy for me to sit down, especially it used to be, very easy for me to sit down and eat an entire bag. I probably could have eaten 2 bags and thought, oh, that's just 2 servings. But if you actually look on the back and you see that it's 50 grams or whatever per serving, and you go, geez, there's like 8 servings in a bag at 260 calories a piece, oh no, I've basically used up all my calories for the day. Like, it's just not a good feeling. And our brains are hardwired, right? Like, you see a banana in its peel and that's a single packaged item, that is a serving. And, an apple and all of these kinds of things are kind of packaged in a way that makes it very easy for us to tell a single serving. And then we go out into kind of this processed food era, and they put a ton of food in there. Like, there was the other day I saw something that was, like even a can of soup, right? Those small cans of soup, and it's like, that's 2.5 servings. Who the heck gives half of a can of soup to someone else? I mean, you open the can of soup and you eat it, and you're like, ta-da, that's my meal. But it's actually like 2 servings, over 2 servings in one of those cans of soup. It just messes with your brain.
On your blog, you wrote a post about the way that your image of yourself has rarely fit how you actually look. Have you thought about any ways that you can make your internal image match more closely with your external image?
I have thought about it. I don't know the solution yet. One of the funny things is I'm not one to, look at myself in a mirror or look at myself without clothing on or any of those kinds of things, right? So I can go, a week without looking at myself in a mirror, and months without actually looking at my physical self without a shirt on or without pants on or things like that. So that self-image of myself can be delayed by half a year or more. Also, there's this mental health aspect of perception, right? Like, I know that I suffer from depression and anxiety, and that depression can manifest in kind of that lack of understanding of body self-image. I'm very hard on myself in my job and in all kinds of other aspects of my life. Why would I not be hard on myself physically? And so whenever I self-sabotage due to depression, and then alter my body image to kind of match that self-sabotage, then you kind of get into that negative spiral, right? If I'm gonna be as heavy as I am, then I might as well just eat all the junk I want. And so, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I look back at old pictures of myself. That is the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing is looking back at pictures of myself. I assumed mentally in my brain that I have been overweight my entire life. And I look back at these pictures of myself in high school and I go, I looked kind of thin in those pictures. Maybe the aspect ratio is messed up. And I'm like, no, even in this picture, it's the same. And I know that I wasn't eating very well in high school. I know that I wasn't like eating a lot in high school, but in my mind I was overweight. And so looking back at those pictures and seeing, I don't think actually I was, is really weird. It messes with my brain and my perception because I have this set idea that I've always been overweight, and then I see a period of time where I wasn't. And even as I'm losing the weight now, I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm over 300 pounds still, walking around with a very heavy foot, hurting my knees, and all the aches and pains of being a heavy person are slowly starting to reduce. And yet I still feel like I'm much heavier than I am.
Are there any tweaks or changes that you want to make to your routine in April?
So like I mentioned earlier, I'm like 4 pounds away from the lightest I've been in a decade. So getting those 4 pounds off, even though that weight loss was not the key focus of this, it is a happy byproduct. And seeing that line in the sand so close to where I am now, it's like I gotta make that happen. So I'm really going to be focused on losing those 4 pounds and getting into kind of the 260s, which is a number I haven't seen on the scale forever. And I don't necessarily intend to drop much beyond that, but there's this mental thing where it's just an opportunity to feel very successful in how I'm reshaping my life. And so I think one of the big factors of trying to get there is I've been very focused on calorie in, calorie out kind of thing, where it doesn't matter where the calories are coming from. I think I might try to be a little bit more restrictive in where my calories are coming from, try to amp up the fruit and vegetables, especially as we get into the season where a lot of that is finally starting to grow in Ontario. So I'm really hoping to amp up my where I'm getting my calories from, and just even try to kind of bank a little bit extra this month, especially between now and Easter. I'd like to bank a little bit extra, and then of course I know Easter is going to be glutton fest. It always is. How can you avoid that when you're eating a big meal family? But then afterwards I want to go back to that again. So I'm going to try to bank a little extra each day, even just an extra 100 calories over like 25, 30 days. You're looking at an extra pound of loss, right? So I'm hoping that'll get me past that threshold in April.
That's all my questions. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
Oddly enough, in a way that I never thought, this works. If you're looking for a way to lose weight, I mean, counting calories isn't always fun. It isn't always easy. It isn't always convenient. People get hyper obsessive about it and are like very exact, and they're like using scales and measurements and like, building up their own recipes whenever they make things. I don't go that far, right? So like, I don't get obsessive about every little detail of this, but even just this small change of kind of keeping track of what I'm putting into my body has had a huge effect on my life and my outlook. And, I hope more people try this.